everybody. Good morning, evening, afternoon, night, whatever time of the day it is for you. Um, there we go. There's better light-ish. Um, oh God, I don't even know where to begin with this. The last two nights, not including last night, 2 nights before, I had the same dream. Um, First one was the beginning. The second one was a continuation of the first, which I rarely have those, but I do have them. Um, this one, however, I was expecting it to still be a continuation. Um, Zombies and everything, but it ended up not. It ended up being quite weird, actually. Um, as mostly everyone who knows me knows, I love children, not toddlers, children. Um, Toddlers tend to get on my nerves sometimes, and I don't understand why they like me as much as they do, but I tend to not like them. Well, this one was just um this woman who lived next door. We're starting out in a very small apartment building in Washington. Um, I believe it was in Seattle. Just know it was in Washington somewhere. Um, Small apartment building. I was there for to finally go sightseeing like I've always wanted to do when I lived there. But anyway, so in the dream, I live in Seattle, Washington, in a small apartment building. Um, Everyone in the apartment building knows each other, so everyone on the first floor, second, and up all know each other. We run into each other so often, we end up having to commute on the ferry boat to go to work and whatever. So we're always running into each other. Well, one of our newest neighbors, I can't remember, I think it was Nicole. She has a daughter named Katie. Um, I guess I should say baby. Has a baby named Katie. Um, and after she grew close enough with us, she informed me and several other neighbors that there was a group of guys chasing her, trying to take her child. Um, she said, if one day I ask you to babysit Katie and I don't come back when I say I'm going to come back, please take care of her. Um, she has a system set up that if something does happen to her and she doesn't come back within a certain amount of time, I believe she specified a week. If she's not back within a week after disappearing, that uh, we will receive a letter from her bank giving us access to any and all of her money to take care of her daughter. Um, was given the task of babysitting her a lot, actually. I was given the task of babysitting her often just because Katie seemed to really get attached to me. So she would leave Katie with me, go to work when she couldn't find a daycare center to work with her, whatnot, or she couldn't get any of the family to take her. Um, but she was slowly losing contact with her family, and she was actually getting extremely concerned about it because it seemed like the people were getting closer and closer. So she was getting really on edge and really stressed out. She actually started giving me all of her baby clothes and stuff like that, diapers and things like that, and bank account numbers, safety deposit boxes, places that she had in other states, like houses, beach houses, apartments, stuff like that. These were safe houses that she had um, built up when she first found out that she was pregnant. She said um, she had enough money to pick out certain spots under different names, and all this. I'm not entirely sure how this works, per se, because there were no passports, there were no ID cards and stuff like that. So I could just walk in and say that I was whoever, and they would give me that room. Well, one night she ends up having to work a late shift, and so she leaves Katie with me. Um, I'm sitting down watching TV and I get a phone call. So I pick it up. Katie starts fussing a little bit, so I've got her in my arm and she's staring at the TV, getting ready to pass out. And I'm like, hello. And it's her mother, Nicole. And um, she was like, I see the guys here. They know which apartment I'm in. I'm going to need you to go. They know the apartment building. They know what they're looking for. They know that she has a birthmark on the back of her thigh. Um, I'm not entirely sure if they will kill me or not. She said if they didn't kill her, she would meet me somewhere in Florida if I could make it that far. Um, well, I left after getting off the phone with her. I quickly packed some bags and shoved everything into my car and drove. Katie's in the back seat in the car seat. Um, I kept my lights off. Um, I managed to make it all the way down to Florida after a very long, torturous trip. And found the apartment building that she said she would be staying in. And so I told the front desk that I'm here looking for, um, I believe she said her name was Amanda something at this place. So I was like, I'm here looking for Amanda in room 2362, I believe. And they're like, yeah, okay. And they handed me a key card, and I went up and went and looked around, and I didn't see her anywhere. So I called down to the front desk, and I was like, has she checked in at all? And they were like, no, but she did tell us that she did call ahead of time and tell us that a friend would be showing up and to let them stay for as long as possible. And we were promised a tip. And I was like, okay. Um, she didn't have a house in Florida. She didn't like it very much, but she did have an apartment. I mean, not an apartment, a hotel, penthouse suite booked for a couple of months. So me and Katie ended up staying there for a while. Um, Ended up staying there longer than usual. For some reason, no one wanted that suite in particular. I guess it was just not their preference or whatnot. So I ended up booking it for a little longer, and I told them that I would do it month by month because I wasn't entirely sure if I would have to get up and leave. And they were perfectly okay with that, which was awesome. Well, we ended up staying there for about a year. Katie is now 1.5 years old. Um, and since, not since, it, it's kind of weird because I would leave her at the hotel and the hotel staff would come by, go into the room and check on her and then leave. And, they would just keep doing that every couple of hours. Um, and I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I remember getting a strange feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I was like, okay. And I went out of the back of a shop that I was in, got into someone's car, had them drive me wherever, and then went to pick up Katie. Um, I had told the hotel where my car was, um, that the keys are in the drawer at this certain shop left with the manager. They could keep the car or they could sell the car, um, and consider the sold price as their tip because I had to up and leave. I packed a couple of things when I went to go and pick up Katie, but I did not take everything. Uh, there were a lot of things that were already there, kids' clothes and stuff like that. So ended up getting another car. Again, like I said, this woman was freaking loaded. Um, so got another car under a different name and started heading to a new state. This time I chose to go to California. Both Katie and me love the beach and love thunderstorms, so we just happened to just kind of gravitate towards areas like that. But we were kind of trying to stay as far away from a certain state as possible. We were lucky that we were able to make it to California in the time that we did. Um, Checked the little book that I had, saw that she had an apartment building here. Um, and the secret spot where she hid the key, the spare key, she said if she wasn't in Florida, this is where she would be. So I went there. Um, Meanwhile, I'm still trying to get a hold of her mother, Katie's mother, Nicole, anytime that I move. Um, we were only able to stay in that spot for 6 months. On Katie's second birthday, we were found. Um, and they broke into the apartment while we were home. So this gave me a very limited time to grab what was necessary to move, but I was able to grab it. And climbed out the window, went down the fire escape, and hopped into the car and drove off. Um, After getting to a certain point when I knew we weren't being followed, I got out of the car, took off the license plate, and put up a different one. Um, and went to a paint and body shop to get the color of the car changed. Which they did a fantastic job. It only took like 2 days for them to do that, and then I was back on the road, which was awesome. So stayed in a hotel for like 2 days and then continued on our trip. This time, where did we make it to? I believe we headed for Colorado. No, yeah, no, yeah, Colorado. Stayed in Colorado for, I think it was another 6 months. We managed to be able to stay there. And I'd learned from the previous place to keep everything that I need very close to me at all times. So I started carrying a purse around. I'm really not a purse person, but it was necessary. Um, After the 6 months, we ended up having to move again because I sensed I got that feeling in the pit of my stomach. My instincts were like, run. So I packed everything up, grabbed Katie, we moved. I believe we went to Iowa and stayed in Iowa for another 6 months. On Katie's third birthday, we ended up having to move again. Uh, we had a little birthday party with a whole bunch of other little kids around. Um, and then after the birthday party was over and everyone had left, I packed up everything and we moved. At this point, Katie's at the age where she's starting to ask questions. Not really serious questions. She's 3, but she's starting to get that something's off. Um, Starting to notice that things are not quite what she thinks they are. Um, and I told her that I couldn't tell her anything specific, um, that I want to wait till she's a bit older if I can. to explain certain things to her, which was fine with her, which is good because I wasn't going to explain it otherwise. It makes it look like my roof starts right there. So it looks like I'm right up against the roof, and I'm not. The roof is up there. It's just my laptop. Is it? Is it my laptop? Yeah, it's my laptop. On top of my head. Anyway, so we ended up having to leave Iowa after 6 months on her third birthday. Um, can't. Where did we go? I believe we went to Alabama and we stayed there for about 3 months. Ended up having to move again and we went to Georgia. Stayed there for 9 months. So, again, on her fourth birthday, we ended up having to move. Um, and since we were in this place for quite a while, Katie was able to make a couple of friends. And she had told her friends that my mommy has money and we move around a lot, so I may not be here for long type deal. Um, so on her fourth birthday, she had a couple friends over. Uh, Everyone got little gift bags for participating. Katie got a whole bunch of presents. Um, and when the party was over, she immediately packed them because she saw me packing stuff. So she started packing stuff that she didn't want to leave behind. Um, but she didn't ask me any questions. Granted, I was basically her mother just because I've had her longer. Didn't even she didn't even know that she wasn't my kid. Like, she had no memory of any other person taking care of her. And granted, I can't really blame her for that because her mother only had her for like 6 months before the people found her. Um, I don't know why they were chasing Katie and Nicole. I don't know why they wanted Nicole's kid, Katie, to begin with. One thing I did figure out is that if I was asleep, they wouldn't break into the house, even if Katie was awake. If I was asleep, they wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't come into the house, they wouldn't come around the apartment or anything like that. So if I was asleep, I knew Katie was safe, which was like a kind of relief for me. Even if I left her with someone else, if I was asleep, Katie's safe. I don't know why they did that. I don't know if it was because they wanted to torture whoever was taking care of her by having them awake and taking Katie away, or what. I also don't know why they wanted Katie so bad. None of it was making any sense to me. I had gotten bits and pieces of information, her saying that Nicole saying that she was being chased and that they wanted her kid. That was it. Since the day she found out she was pregnant, she realized that she was being watched. And they watched her very closely. So she got into the habit of setting up these places and moving. And when she gave birth to Katie, she only had her for 6 months, and then she had to leave her with me. So at each of these hotel um, apartments, houses, or whatever, at each of these places, there's one person that she has set up as contact to someone to get a hold of in case, shit hits the fan. Um, and I have to end up leaving Katie with someone. I'm not sure if they killed Nicole. I'm not sure if they just imprisoned her. I'm not sure of anything. All I know is that I have not been able to get a hold of Katie for 4 years. Well, like 3.5 years. So we ended up having to leave. We moved to South Dakota. I think we were somewhere near the border of North and South Dakota. Um, and we were able to stay there for about 2 years. At this point, Katie was 6 and had started asking questions again. Uh, why are we moving so much? Are there people after us? Um, how come I don't look like you? Stuff like that. Uh, she wasn't seeing much resemblance between me and her aside from our dark hair. And so, of course, I told her um, it was just just a month before her birthday that she started asking these questions. And I told her that your mother, Nicole, left you with me because when she found out she was pregnant, she realized she was being watched and that people were after you. She asked me why, and I told her I really didn't know the reason why. Uh, Nicole had a strange feeling that they were eyeing her stomach more than they were eyeing her. So it wasn't anything about Nicole, it was about what she was carrying. And that when Katie was just 6 years old, that I had to take her in, um, and got one last phone call from her mother that I was told not to answer. She had two phone calls. The one where she informed me that she would not be making it home and that I needed to leave with Katie immediately. Then there was another phone call I got on the trip to Florida that she told me not to answer. Um, she said it was a gift for her daughter if her daughter starts asking these types of serious questions. So, of course, I give her the phone, let her listen to the last message. Um, and again, Nicole doesn't really know why exactly she's being chased and why they want Katie so bad. She's explaining the situation as she understands it. And at the end of the message, she says that even I'm not really sure why they want you, but I know they want you. Um, so Katie kind of being a really smart kid, she's kind of grasping onto the situation a bit. So she goes to school. Um, over the next month, we have her big birthday party, And then Katie comes in after, I think it was like a couple of days after her sixth birthday, and it's just like, there's she was outside playing with friends or something. I'm not entirely sure, but she comes back and she tells me that she's noticing weird men around. And I'm like, okay, go to your room, pack all the things that you do not want to leave. I was like, if there's anything in the fridge, such as snacks and stuff that you want to take on the road, get them now. And so she goes and starts packing her stuff. She doesn't panic. You know that she's scared, but she's not panicking. Um, she immediately goes and starts packing all the stuff that she doesn't want to leave. She's got a specific suitcase for her to pack certain things in, plus backpacks. So it's quick grab and goes. Um, and she puts them by the door and helps me get my stuff together. Looks through the kitchen, makes sure there's nothing important left behind, stuff like that. Um, and then we'll pick up our stuff at the same time and go out to the car. We shove everything in and hop in ourselves, and then we'll get oriented while we're on the road. Um, since we don't have time to just pack everything and then go, we have to do it now. Because if they're close enough to where even she notices them, there's no time. So we packed and we left. We noticed that a car had been chasing us for quite a while. Um, Katie was sitting up front with me for a short while, and then she went back into her car seat so that she could sleep. Uh, there was like a little TV display on the back of the passenger seat so she could sit there and watch TV, and that's what she would go to sleep to. Um, we were driving around for quite a while with people tailing us, and then we were able to lose them. I kind of drove all over the place from the border of North and South Dakota, and ended up stopping in Mississippi. I noticed they weren't following us anymore, and so stayed in Mississippi. Um, Dropped the car off a state away. Um, and called it in to a specific person on the list and had them clean up the car, uh, wipe it down, and all that so that they could resell it. And it would be their tip for helping. And then we took a bus to the next state, which happened to be Mississippi. Um, we were able to stay there for about 3 years. I don't know if it's because they didn't expect us to be in such an open area or what, but it took them 3 years to find us. Um, Kitty is now 9 years old. She has a whole bunch of friends. And she's kind of getting that feeling in the pit of her stomach as well. And so she comes home one day and she's like, Mama, my stomach feels weird. And I was like, yeah, mine too. And she was like, I think it may be time for us to go. And I'm like, yeah. Um, Luckily, we were in a duplex this time that had a garage, so we were able to have the car backed in, which made it easier to pack stuff and, you know, make sure we had everything. Um, because it had an in access to the inside of the house. It had a door that accessed to the inside of the house. Um, right when you leave the garage and you go through the door, it's the laundry room, and then once you go in through there, it's the kitchen. And so we packed our stuff, put it in the back of the car, uh, did a quick run of the duplex, and made sure that we had what we needed. Told the neighbor upstairs that we would be moving now. It was just that time. We were going to have a birthday party before we left. Um, at this point, Katie goes and takes off a magnet from the fridge and puts it in one of her book bags. And that's when I start noticing that anytime she asks me to buy her something from a gas station that's on the road, it's of the state that we were staying in. And she'll mark a certain spot on the magnet itself, um, like put a little hole in it and then add a keychain that, like a little tag that says where, what, city we were living in. Not the actual address, though. She knew better. And how long we were there. Uh, and of course, she wanted to know where she was born. I was like, Washington. You were born in Washington. I'm not entirely sure of the city, but you ended up in Seattle living next door to me. And so that was one of the things that she had was a Washington magnet or shot glass or anything that she could find that was really like a tourist type thing. She would get them and write down the city that she stayed in and how long she was able to stay there. Um, I was also doing the same thing, writing down certain places and stuff like that. Since then, um, we moved to Texas. And in Texas, I started taking her to training places, basically karate, jujitsu, learning how to shoot, stuff like that, survival classes. That if she ended up in the, if we ended up having to stay in the woods, we would be able to hunt for food and stuff like that. Um, I was already very proficient in that stuff. So I was teaching her if she had questions from classes, she would come back and ask me. And she ended up dropping karate because she didn't like its style. She asked to be in ballet or gymnastics instead because she figured it would help her be more flexible and it would make it easier to get certain things done. And I was like, okay. I was like, but if we go to another state and all they have is karate, would you be willing to do it? And she said yes. So we kind of had like this little deal thing going on. We were able to stay in Texas for another 3 years. Um, at this point, she's 12 years old, had a birthday party, all that. Um, we ended up back on the road, but I woke up before we got to our destination. We were somewhere. Um, we were somewhere in North or South Carolina, and I woke up. Uh, we had booked a hotel room for the night, and that's when I woke up. I don't know if it's going to continue or not, but that one was really weird. I've never had a dream of being chased that much over a child, but whatever. But anyway, I just wanted to share that story. I hope you guys have a beautiful morning, evening, afternoon, night, whatever time of day it is for you. And I will see you again shortly or next couple days. I'm not entirely sure. Bye.